first chapter where we actually start digging into tailoring techniques is buttonholes. Buttons, tailored buttonholes, buttons, and trimmings. Now, generally speaking, I think most people are aware of what buttons are these days, so I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time going over the characteristics of buttonholes, positions, and types of buttons. She does have a section on making perfect buttonholes, which of course calls for more tools. Interesting is, one of the things she points out is a buttonhole cutter, and it has this kind of detailed diagram here. I can't find this particular device anywhere. If you do a search for buttonhole cutters, you're going to get basically it's like an awl type thing where you can just kind of poke a hole through it and make the buttonhole. Alternatively, you can get buttonhole scissors, which are what these are. And she does mention buttonhole scissors in the Wild book over here. Essentially, this little screw tightens down, and you cut to where that is so you don't go past the buttonhole. Now, you can buy these pretty much anywhere. You can get them on Amazon, you can get them at Joann's. I got these as a vintage pair off of Etsy, and they are quite rusted and nasty. I don't want these anywhere near my fabric right now, so I'm going to attempt to bring these back to life. So doing a little bit of Google research, as we all know, everything on the internet can always be trusted, right? It says you can remove rust from metal using vinegar. All right, well, that's interesting. Of course, I have vinegar everywhere. You know, I'm a proponent of vinegar. I put vinegar in with all of my silk to get it to rinse out. So to revitalize these, I'm going to put now a couple things. First off, this screw does just come out. This is what determines the depth of your buttonhole, so I took that out right away. Now, there is a screw here to try and take the scissors actually apart, and it kind of just goes into a little tunnel, you know, contraption. Problem is, it's so rusted we cannot get this to break loose. We've tried, we have a couple screwdrivers here, and it's stuck. So I'm going to put it in the vinegar bath first, see if we can get that to loosen up, see if we can get it cleaned up, and hopefully that'll work. If we don't get them apart, I don't think it'll be the end of the world. My only concern is getting all of the rust from in here and in the nooks and crannies down here, which is going to be kind of hard to do if we can't get the scissors apart. Start with that. Now, the vinegar I'm using, this is all-purpose cleaning vinegar. This has a higher acid content than the vinegar you get at the store. The vinegar you get at the grocery store is about 5% acid. This is going to be like 30-35% acid. So it's going to be a stronger acidic content, which is going to cut through the rust, hopefully. So, pour this over my scissors. They are fully submerged. All right. Oh yeah.
You have a helper.
Smell the vinegar. I have a helper. I have a cat helping. Don't drink the vinegar. She won't. She's a good cat. She's smart. Smarter than the other two at any rate. So, now I let it soak. And the WikiHow is where I got the information from, said to let it soak for 24 hours. Now, one of the other sites that I visited also said if you pour table salt in, it'll strengthen the acid content. Since I only paid about $10 for these scissors, I'm not horribly worried if I wreck them, so I'm going to put some salt in there and see if that ups the acidic level. And we're just going to see if that works. And I have to let it sit for 24 hours. So I'll check in tomorrow and we'll see how well we got the rust off. So I've got my scissors, and I know definitely some of the rust came off because there's little rust flakes floating around in the vinegar. I'm going to very carefully dump this because I don't want to get vinegar on my hands, not vinegar that's at 35% acid. So we're going to carefully dump this. Very, very carefully. Oh, this is going to hurt. Well, my hands are dry anyways. Okay. So then we're going to put some water in here because we want to neutralize the acid. And obviously if you've ever done any like 8th grade science experience, you know that if you put baking soda in vinegar, it's going to explode. So we're going to dump the vinegar first, putting some baking soda and water in there to kind of neutralize it. Fortunately, it doesn't have to be in there for very long. It's just enough to get the acid to calm down on the scissors. All right. Okay, so let's do that. Start with the pin here. All right. Well, doesn't look horrible, but there's definitely still some rust on there. Now comes the really fun part. I have done my best with the vinegar. Now I'm going to pull out the steel wool and see if I can just buff that rust. Oh, well, the rust came off really, really easy. I don't know how much you can see that.
Oh, stop moving.
The cameraman's getting cranky with me.
Very cranky.
So yeah, just a little bit of steel wool, and it literally just buffed right off of there. So that's kind of a cool thing. All right, so that's nice. We're going to do a quick twist here. And I'm using a quadruple zero steel wool, which is very, very fine. And yeah, the rust is just flying right off with that. So that's very cool. All right. That was easy. Let's see what rinse all the baking soda off of it now. Okay. Dry this up. Well, it's already looking loads better from yesterday. And yesterday this was all grunged over. And now it's still a bit grimy, but I don't see any visible, it's grime, it's not rust. So let's finish getting that cleaned off of there. Well, they still look really good. Like I said, they look loads better. I'm just kind of curious how sharp they are without sharpening them. So we'll take some scrap. Wow, they still cut really good. They're pretty clean for a cut. It's not bad. Not sure if they need much by way of sharpening if the steel, I think the steel wool might just put enough of an edge on them to be just fine. So there you go. If you get some rusty old tools from a auction lot or Etsy or eBay, you can soak them in some high acid vinegar. That'll be the cleaning vinegar you get from a home improvement store, not the type you get at the grocery store. Yeah, the rust came right off. Those are looking pretty clean. I would be happy to use those on my fabric. I'm not too horribly worried about getting any like gunk on my fabric. Alright. So there you go. You can bring scissors back from the grave using a little bit of vinegar.